The U.S. intelligence community is demanding more information and greater cooperation from China about the origins of COVID after releasing a new report over the weekend. Officials say both a natural origin and a lab leak in Wuhan are possible causes of how the virus first infected humans. China fired back, saying the report has no credibility. Intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis is here to discuss what the report may tell us about what caused the global pandemic. Olivia, a little part of me chuckled in a sad way that China said that there's no credibility when it comes to this report, because there probably would be more credibility if there was more cooperation from China. So, yeah, they would know how credible the report is because they haven't been very forthcoming since day one. And that's being kind. What kind of evidence, then, did this investigation even have to evaluate? And how is it different from the study by China and the World Health Organization that the World Health Organization published this year that ruled out the theory that COVID-19 came from a lab leak?
You're absolutely right, Anne-Marie, that WHO and China influence study was widely discredited, and China has very much hampered other efforts to look into this. We only have a partial answer to what the intelligence community looked at here, in part because this report is the classified version of what would otherwise be a highly classified document that goes to the president and lays out what agencies looked at, what they collected, and what they analyzed. What we can tell from this public version is that they reviewed academic studies, genetic analyses, historical cases, their understanding of Chinese society and leadership, and really pressure tested each of those things using what are called red cells in order to take these contrarian views and challenge every fact. What we know that of the agencies involved is that they also would have drawn on other, collection abilities and expertise that they have. So they would have looked at overhead surveillance. They would have looked at communications intercepts that they might have had of Chinese officials in leadership. They would have talked to human spies that they might have had on the ground. And that latter part, all of those other special abilities, is what really sets apart this inquiry from others that have come before it, because it really draws on the massive resources of the U.S. intelligence community to arrive at an answer. And unfortunately, as you point out, absent more cooperation from China, that answer still remains unclear.
Oh, so then let me ask you, China has been critical of this report. China has downplayed or dismissed the idea that a lab leak was even a possibility at all. They have been focused on these wet markets and bats and so on and so forth. What does China offer an explanation at all? Do they explain why they are critical of this report? And can you talk a little bit more about, how trustworthy China has been in regards to this whole process?
Sure. So, I think the resounding answer to the question of whether China has cooperated with any of these inquiries is no, right? So for it to say that this is not credible or that it is politically motivated, obviously there's a political motivation for China to be saying all those kinds of things too. Plenty of governments, including ours and international organizations, have really pressured China to be more forthcoming and just have had the door slammed in their face, so to speak. There was in this report one intelligence agency that focused and favored the lab leak theory in particular. It said with moderate confidence that that is what happened. The reasons for that were, one, that the researchers at the Wuhan lab were engaging in this inherently risky research involving coronaviruses. Two, and there's been public reporting about this, that there were inadequate biosafety practices at that lab, which would have increased the risk that somebody was unwittingly infected there. And three, some other evidence, again, that remains classified and we may not know about now or ever. That's what those analysts emphasized in favoring the lab leak theory. But moderate confidence and one agency of the potential 18 that are involved in the intelligence community is really not that definitive. So again, ultimately, like other reports that have come before this, it's really only if China allows access to data, allows researchers again onto its territory, cooperates more thoroughly with these inquiries, that we're going to get a more fulsome answer to this question.
So the WHO last month established a new advisory group on pandemic origins and has called on China to supply data to help with any new investigation. How will this investigation be different at all? And can we expect China to cooperate?
Yeah. So this is an expert group that the WHO is now convening that is comprising 24 outside scientists, who include U.S. and Chinese and 24 other countries represented in this group. And they're going to be charged with trying to understand, again, the origins of COVID-19, where it started, how it started, who it affected, and then to create a framework to detect and to protect the world from future outbreaks. So the fact that it includes these representatives from China is a double-edged sword, right? Because on the one hand, they can feel a little bit more at ease that they have representation. But on the other hand, observers are already saying that with senior Chinese health officials involved in this inquiry, it's going to be difficult for it to be as unflinching as it needs to be in creating that framework, again, to protect against future outbreaks.
Yeah, I suppose you have to try. And, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm not hopeful. Olivia,
everybody
thank you very
wants the
much.
answer to this question. Thanks, Anne-Marie.